Hello and welcome to the Captains at Center Ice podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Kessner, and today we are going to be talking about something that I think Ryan and I have been waiting for a long time, and I'm pretty sure every NHL fan has been waiting for a long time, and that is the conference finals. I think it's quite honestly a good matchup in both series, or both matchups, and so I'm excited. Um, like I said, I'm with Ryan, um, and Ryan is a former Cardinal Sports Live member with me, and he has his own Colorado Avalanche podcast that he runs with a couple of other of his people and his friends. So yeah, feel free to check that out. But yeah, right. What's that podcast again, Ryan?
Called Winter Wonderland, a Forsberg Winter Wonderland. Sorry, couldn't get that out.
A Forsberg Winter Wonderland.
Yes.
So, feel
After
free
Peter
to.
Forsberg.
I mean, that makes sense. Yeah. So yeah. Feel free to check him out. And well, their podcasts out. And they talk everything Colorado Avalanche. So, yeah, feel free to check them out. Now that I've introduced you, Ryan, how are you liking the playoffs so far?
I'm liking them. I was kind of shocked, like awestruck, or like kind of disappointed, more disappointed than anything when Avalanche got knocked out in the first round. But it was fun to go to Nashville and see a game in Nashville and in Smashville. And they really do make it a college atmosphere when it comes to their chants and everything. So that was cool to see.
Yeah. I will say their fan base is loyal. I think one of the things that bugs me the most is just it's the best way I know how to describe it is the difference between old money and new money. So old money is they have a lot of money, but they're very like respectful and they're very like generally they're not like prideful or snooty or anything like that. Whereas new money, they're a lot more snooty and like, oh, I'm rich, you're not kind of deal. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how I see this, where I think a lot of fan bases are a lot more old money right now. And Nashville is very new money. And so they're very like, oh, yeah, we're in the playoffs, we're doing well, all this stuff. But meanwhile, they're just being really irritating fan bases, or being a really irritating fan base. But I will give them credit. They're loud. They're good in terms of atmosphere. It's cool to see, another city other than Chicago, New York,
Yeah, an
Boston.
original six.
Yeah, it's cool to see that. So I'm not.
Mhm.
There are good parts to their fan base. So sorry, I have an itch on my head. So, but anyway, as you can see, this was a struggle for all of you watching. Anyway, but that being said, yeah, it's very interesting to watch their fan base. Funny enough, I was actually scrolling through Twitter. Let me see if I can pull it up. So Carrie Underwood, who, by the way, I like Carrie Underwood as a person. I like her music, but she is an irritating Nashville fan, and understandably so because her husband plays on the team.
Yeah, Mike Fisher.
Yeah. So she tweeted this. Let's see, 20 hours ago. So yesterday. So she said, "And one last thing, if the Golden Knights need an anthem singer, I'm 2-0 in the playoffs. Just saying. Good night, everybody. Lots of love from Smashville." So, of course, all the Vegas fans are going, "We don't need you. Why do we want you?" And all, of course, they're all going, "Stick with your own fan base. Don't bandwagon ours." Which is
Well, I mean, she just wants to see good hockey.
I'm not judging her for that, but it's kind of interesting, and of course all the Winnipeg fans had to jump in. there was a catfish with Michael Jordan's face thrown on the ice. With Michael Jordan's face photoshopped on it. It's kind of funny. Anyway, yeah, so I saw that and I thought it was an interesting, I think it was a proper response from the rest of the fan bases. And I thought it was funny to see. But so that being said, I'm gonna actually, for those of you who are actually looking at the screen, you can see that I have my bracket up. So you'll be able to see what my choices are. I have Ryan's bracket. I'll show that here in a second. Actually, I'm gonna have him go through his bracket here in just a moment. But
where do you want me to start?
we'll just start. We'll start from the beginning here. So here I'll bring his bracket up so you can see it, and then I'll go through mine really quickly. So we'll start with first round, kind of talk about our thought process on how we made our picks, like how everything came out. We'll make our thought process on that, and then talk about our thought process on that, and then we'll bring up the actual bracket. And so yeah, we'll be kind of quick with this so you can see the actual bracket. So yeah. Here we go. Ryan, let's start with we'll start in the first round and we'll start out of the Western Conference. Just start with the Nashville, Colorado, I guess.
So in the first round we had Nashville and Colorado, my team, Colorado. I wasn't gonna be a homer and pick Colorado because I knew Nashville was better. Colorado's still very young and inexperienced, and Nashville had the President's Trophy riding on them. So it just made sense to pick Nashville. I did say 6 games, which I did get correct, which was surprising to me. I thought we were going to do five games, but we made it to 6, which was impressive. Noting that we didn't have our starting goalie or our backup goalie, and we lost our starting defenseman. So it was a good series. I really liked it. I enjoyed it, and going to game 2 was fun. So my bank account's hurting, but that's for another day. Winnipeg, Minnesota. I had Winnipeg in 5, which I got correct. Winnipeg is just their offense is just turning it on in the playoffs. I don't know anyone that can stop this offensive juggernaut, and it's really been impressive to watch Patrick Laine, Blake Wheeler, Paul Stastny really turn it on. So that's why I had Winnipeg, and Minnesota was hurting. They didn't really have offensive power besides Eric Staal and Zach Parise was out for that series. So it was Minnesota wasn't in the cards for that one. And then I chose the Kings because I thought experience would beat out the Knights, but that did not happen at all. The Knights swept the Kings, which I don't think anyone saw coming, to be honest. I thought Kings would at least make it 7 games or something. And then the other series, the last series was San Jose and Anaheim. This was a letdown, to be honest. Like, Anaheim didn't even show up. So that was the first round. Do you want to do your first round or?
Go ahead and do the so do a quick go all the way to the finals through the Western Conference and then do the East.
Okay. And so the second round I had the Winnipeg Jets over Nashville. The offensive juggernaut of Winnipeg is just impressive, and I just can't pick against it. So that's why I went with the Jets. And Nashville, I don't think had the scoring power that Winnipeg did, so that's why I picked them. And then I didn't have anyone right in the Ducks the Knights versus the Sharks series. So this one I went with the Knights because, and it doesn't show in my bracket, but in our last podcast I went with the Knights because I was sick of being chosen wrong. Like, it was frustrating. So I was like, I'm just gonna ride the bandwagon and go with the Knights and just call it a day.
Yeah. So I should clarify. The podcast he's talking about actually didn't get published. For some reason it just didn't happen. So I'm gonna re-upload it for you guys. But we went through and we did second rounds. So his second round still is similar to his bracket here. He has he did go with Winnipeg in that last podcast that we did. So but yeah, he went with Vegas the next round. Okay, so conference final, you had Winnipeg and Vegas.
Yep, and I think Winnipeg wins out because, again, I think it's not about experience, but I think the Knights just don't have the scoring that the Winnipeg Jets do. And I even talked about Connor Hellebuck. I thought he's been doing really well this whole playoff series. And yeah, Fleury, there's Fleury, but I don't think Fleury, you can only ride Fleury for so long. Like Quick, Fleury is not Quick, and I don't think Fleury can win you a Stanley Cup.
I guess I agree with that to an extent. Anyway, okay, so so you had Winnipeg going to the finals.
Yes.
Much like your current bracket. So the only difference with his bracket is instead of LA going all the way to conference final, he had Vegas. Vegas is there instead. So with once it got to the second round and we did our next podcast and we saw first round. So okay. Now go through your Eastern Conference just really quick.
So I had Tampa Bay in 5, got that right. Then I had Toronto over Boston because I thought Toronto with Austin Matthews, I thought they could do it, and they went 7 games, which I had correct, and they just in the third period just got blown out. It was simple as that. So it was close.
Yeah.
And then I had I had Columbus over the Capitals, and that went 6. Did that go 7 or 6?
I think it went 6.
6, yeah. I thought Columbus could win, but it didn't. I mean, they took the first 2, and then Washington swept them. So it wasn't. So I wasn't totally correct, and I thought it was going to be a good series. And then I had got Pittsburgh right. I thought it was going to be a 4-game sweep. It actually turned into a series, went 6, so got that kind of wrong. And then
you got the team right there.
Yeah. And then Pittsburgh and Capitals, I really hated this series from the beginning. I thought Pittsburgh was going to win because I just thought they're the bigger brother. They have more experience. They have the Stanley Cups. I thought Pittsburgh would win, but Capitals surprised me, and they're on to the conference finals. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So you have. So obviously Washington is in the spot of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
His thing. And obviously, I mean, you had Pittsburgh correct. So, I mean, our brackets aren't too dissimilar. So, yeah. So that.
Sorry, I went a little fast on the Eastern. I just don't know the Eastern as well as the West.
I mean, it's okay. I'm gonna go kind of quick on mine too. So I'm pulling my bracket up here for you guys. So, Nashville, Colorado. I went Nashville as well. I thought the depth of Nashville was just gonna end up outplaying in pretty much every area except for offense. I thought that Nashville was able to play, and that turned out to be the case. Although I will say, I was hoping that Colorado was going to end up, stealing a game or two in Nashville, and they ended up doing that. So,
yeah, they did.
So I, props to Colorado. I think they're going to be an interesting team next season.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, but Nashville kind of showed its colors first round, actually, I think. Playing against a true offensive glass cannon of a team. I say glass cannon in the sense of they're really strong offensively, but defensively they're not there. So Winnipeg, Minnesota, I picked Winnipeg as well. I think the obvious statement is Minnesota is Minnesota. They haven't been good enough to even get to the finals, let alone leave round 1 or round 2, pretty much.
Didn't they fire their coach too, Bruce Boudreau? Or isn't he on the
No.
chopping block or something?
I haven't seen anything with him being fired. Maybe if he has, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
But I bet he's on the I bet he's on the block if not. If he hasn't
Yeah.
been fired. He's a regular season coach, and I
Mm-hmm.
can never bet on Bruce Boudreau after watching him play for my Ducks for a long, long time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not worth it. Anyway, so yep, that's what I had second round. Vegas, LA. I picked Vegas. I gave Vegas a chance on the first round, and they proved me right. So yeah, I went with Vegas. I think I gave LA more credit than they deserved. I think I gave them 6. It was a 6-game series, if I can read that properly. And then Anaheim, San Jose, again, major disappointment. And I picked this to be a 7-game series. Anaheim didn't show up.
Yeah.
So and San Jose moved on. So I had Anaheim moving on to the next round. As you can see by my bracket, I had Anaheim going all the way to the finals. That team had the possibility of doing it. They had no motivation of doing it though. That's kind of where I
Did you
stand.
trust John Gibson though?
Huh?
Did you trust John Gibson to take you to the finals though?
This season I did. I think I was giving him a little bit of hope, I guess, on that one too. I thought he had proven that he was able to play goaltender well enough to get to the finals. He wasn't the
Okay.
best goalie. I won't say he was the best goalie, and he hasn't proven that at all. In any stretch of the imagination. I mean, he was in the running for the Vezina trophy for a little bit there.
Was he? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So I don't know. I think he could have done it, and I think Anaheim's defense helps him out a lot, but they just didn't show up. Um, so moving on. Obviously San Jose is where Anaheim would be. In that. In terms of the second round, Winnipeg, Nashville. I went with Winnipeg again. Winnipeg all the way through hasn't really changed. Vegas, Anaheim. Vegas, San Jose. I picked Vegas for the next round. After seeing Anaheim lose, so that's a little different here. So I picked Vegas to beat San Jose, and lo and behold, I was right.
Yeah. I mean, I think we both got that right.
Yeah, we both got that right, and all I have to say is my statement on it. If you go back and watch my next podcast, which will get re-uploaded, if you go back and watch my previous podcast, it definitely everything that I said was true on that. All they had to do was shut down Evander Kane. They had to shut down Joe Pavelski, and they had to shut down Brent Burns. Pretty much, they shut down those 3 players, and you're pretty much set. And Vegas did that, and they had depth scoring, so that helped them out. Fleury helped them out. Anyway, point being, I was right on that. So, Vegas, I have Vegas moving on and Winnipeg, Vegas. In the conference finals between the two. Well, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But I think I had between the two. The last podcast, I picked Vegas to go to the finals.
You did pick.
Yeah.
You picked Vegas.
Yeah. So, but we're going to talk more about these matchups. But I'm just going to tell you right now. Last time I did the podcast, I had Vegas going to the finals. Eastern Conference, Tampa versus New Jersey. Tampa, not much to say there. Boston, Toronto. I picked Boston. I thought Boston had more depth.
It was a good series, though.
It was a good series, and I picked 6 games instead of 7. So I'll give Toronto credit. They surprised me a little bit, and I thought potentially Game 7 they could have clinched it, and they didn't. So, but I picked Boston, so I was correct on that. And then next round, this is the only round of the Eastern Conference I was wrong. I actually did change my pick in the podcast I went between Washington and Columbus. I picked Columbus. I think Columbus could have still pulled this off.
I thought so too. I mean,
And
they picked the two games in Washington.
yeah, and um, I mean, I give Washington credit. They played. So, that being said, I picked Columbus, so I was wrong on that. And then Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. I was wrong on the number of games. I picked 7 games for this one as well. But I picked Pittsburgh. It was interesting. Ryan and I were like, we were talking the first round, and we're like, oh, well, it might be a sweep after the first game, and then it turned out.
Yeah, that game. It was like 7-0, right? The first game.
Yeah.
It's like, well, Philly didn't show up.
Nope. So anyway, but they got it to 6 games, so I'll give Philly credit there. But I picked Pittsburgh. And then obviously Pittsburgh, Washington. Between the two, I'm pretty sure I picked Pittsburgh to move on. I wasn't sure about Washington moving on to the final, so I was actually wrong on that one.
Yeah, I had a rant on this series. I didn't like it.
Yeah. And then Tampa Bay, Boston. I was actually correct on this one too. I picked Tampa Bay. I mean, not much to say there. It was a good series though.
Yeah.
Although, okay, because we're not really going to touch on this series a whole lot. Brad Marchand, quit with the freaking licking.
I know.
That you're going to create a new rule, which, by the way, doesn't really need to be created.
He's like the Lance Stevenson of the NHL.
He's the new Sean Avery. You're the new Sean Avery. It's insane. We don't need this. Stop. Like, your idea. I understand you play on edge. You want to. There's a reason people don't like you in the NHL, and you're not helping your case right now. I understand the mindset. Huh?
Kind of reminds me from the rat from Ratatouille.
Yeah.
With his facial features and everything.
Yeah. He's honestly, I understand trying to get under the skin of somebody, and I understand trying to play to kind of, push someone over the edge to draw a penalty. Why was that why was that the play that you tried to do? It's one thing to start pushing and shoving after a play, to kind of get in someone's head. That's hockey. We understand that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you haven't done this in a little bit, but the leg sweeps, we don't need that. And obviously, here you decided to, lick. But you pretty much, you actually licked 2 Tampa Bay players, because the first one was Komarov, and the second one was Callahan. So why?
Yeah,
there's no need for it. It's disgusting. And actually, I have to say, the NHL handled that very poorly. They should have immediately, after the first one, because they were 2 separate games. The first one was Komarov's. After the first one, the NHL should have called Brad Marchand and said, if you do that again, we are suspending you. Yeah. Like, that's what they should have done. Like, I don't need a 7.
Infection. You never know. I don't know.
Well, they called him after the second one, but they needed to call him after the first one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Call a penalty. They needed something to stop it. That's what they needed to do, and they didn't put their foot down. That was the time they needed to put their foot down. So, was anyone hurt? No, not really. So, I guess it's not a huge deal, but it's not like normal Brad Marchand where he just sweeps legs out from under people and whatnot. But
yeah.
Anyway, all right, rant done on that. So I picked Tampa Bay. I was correct on that, and then I had Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh picked last week. Wrong on the Pittsburgh pick, and now we have Tampa Bay and Washington. And last week, I still stuck with my Tampa Bay going all the way to the finals, and I had Tampa Bay winning the cup last week. So we're gonna talk about that. And yeah, so I'm gonna hide my bracket, and I am going to show this current bracket so you guys can see it here. So you want to talk about this, Ryan? Here, let's
Yeah.
talk
Which
about it.
series do we want to start off first?
Um, let's make this a little bit bigger for you guys. Um, let's start talking about well, let's talk about the more interesting one here. Let's well, actually no, let's talk about the one that's going to happen tonight. Tampa Bay, Washington. So, oh, by the way, we're I should say clarify this. We are recording. It is currently 7:38 p.m. So we are our statements are unbiased, and so yeah, we're gonna talk about this here really quick. So, but yeah, so I'm just letting you know it is before the game. The game's supposed to start at 8. My guess is it'll probably be like 8:15 with all the warm ups and stuff. Anyway, so let's talk about that. So Tampa, Washington. What do you think, Ryan?
So Tampa Bay, Washington. I don't. My main concern for Washington is Holtby. I don't trust them,
Fair.
and I think Vasilevsky is a better goalie. Um, so that's my main concern. They can definitely shoot the puck and score. That's not my concern at all. But I just don't. And Holtby didn't even start the first round, so yeah, he did well in the second round, got him finally through to the conference finals, but I don't trust Holtby. I know he's the Canadian goalie and everything, but I just don't trust it. And I think Tampa Bay. I'm still picking Tampa Bay because I like Vasilevsky. I like their defense. I like Stamkos. I like Kucherov, and so I think Tampa Bay wins it.
Fair. Um excuse me. Um so I was actually having a conversation today in the locker room after playing hockey today this morning with a Caps fan. And obviously he did mention he's like I'm biased, so I don't think I can make a correct judgment call on that. So I'll give him props on that. But so he was talking about how great Barry Trotz was and how great Alex Ovechkin has done under Barry Trotz and how great, the whole entire franchise has done under Barry Trotz. So let me say this. Yes, Barry Trotz has done better than Bruce Boudreau. Like that's not hard to do. Here's the downside to Barry Trotz. Barry Trotz has, I think, had kind of a lucky year right now. Like the team is not relying on Alex Ovechkin to get goals, and so they're all stepping up to try and score, which is good for the Capitals. So I will say that's good for the Capitals, but my friend's argument was Alex Ovechkin is the most complete player he's ever been.
Okay, no.
And this is my argument. Alex Ovechkin does not play defense. I don't care who you are. If you're gonna come up to me and tell me that Alex Ovechkin is an outstanding defensive player, sit down. You're not watching Alex Ovechkin play. He's a great. Don't get me wrong. He's a great player. He's a Hall of Famer for sure. And he's exciting to watch. I'm not discrediting that.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a defensive player. He's not an all-around player. Don't come to me acting like he's Pavel Datsyuk. I will not give that up. So, anyway, so this is my point in bringing that up. The Capitals are playing well with the current people who are under Alex Ovechkin, if that makes sense. Alex Ovechkin is playing meh. He's playing well, but he's not the dangerous Alex Ovechkin that we've seen like 2 years ago, where he was just sniping corners every shot practically.
Yeah.
If he gets hot and if he gets hot and TJ Oshie gets hot, then that'll be a really good thing for the Washington Capitals.
Oshie's having a down year, though, I would say.
He's had a down. He's played worse than he has ever. He's playing better than he did 2 years ago when he was traded, but he's playing better than he did. but he's had a couple shots on net that should have gone in, and he's a good player. He just hasn't converted on a whole lot, and that's kind of the downside. He kind of reminds me of Zach Parise, although he plays better than Zach Parise.
Yeah.
So yeah, so here's the thing with Washington, Tampa. Tampa's depth is actually playing well enough to be considered maybe a first line. Like Braden Point is outstanding. Nikita Kucherov, yeah, he struggled against Boston. He played decently well against New Jersey, and it's not like Nikita Kucherov is this player who is, oh, he's not playing anymore, we can let off of him. Like he's gonna be a threat. Vasilevsky, like you said, I think Vasilevsky's the better goalie here. Braden Holtby he's been good, but he's been inconsistent. He reminds me of Pekka Rinne, and he's been pulled from games this season in the playoffs. It's just, I don't know. He's inconsistent. Defensively, I think they're pretty even. I think both teams are pretty even defensively. Offensively, I give the edge to Tampa. Now,
that's what I would do too.
Here's the thing. There's two things that could play in Washington's favor. Number one is penalties, because Washington has a better power play. That is a true statement. So Washington has always pretty much had a deadly power play. So Tampa needs to watch the penalties they take. That's a pretty obvious statement, I think.
Yeah.
And I quite honestly, under John Cooper, they will, because John Cooper is the better coach. So John, that being said, if they limit their penalties, that's going to help out Tampa Bay. The other thing is that Tampa Bay is going to have to dump the puck in. Tampa Bay loves to skate the puck through the neutral zone over the blue line into the offensive zone. And Washington will take advantage of that, especially if we watch how they played against Pittsburgh, where they just played like basically a neutral zone trap pretty much. Not trap as in the type of play, but more of trap, like they kept them in the offensive or the neutral zone. So yeah, that's one thing those are two things that Tampa Bay is going to have to do well. They're going to have to do those two things: limit penalties and dump the puck in order to beat Washington. I think they can do it. The good thing is Dan Girardi and Ryan McDonough are on this team, and I'm wearing my Rangers gear, I know right now, but the Tampa Bay Lightning is pretty much, I'm over exaggerating when I say this, but they're half Rangers. Half the team is practically New York Rangers, and the New York Rangers know how to play the Washington Capitals because they've been in the final or the second round with them so many times. Actually, I'm pretty sure they went to the conference final with them under Tortorella. But
he did.
Anyway, so that being said, my point is the experience of being on the New York Rangers, Tampa Bay doesn't play all that different. In fact, Tampa is deeper than New York, as much as it pains me to say that. Tampa is deeper than New York, and New York has beaten the Washington Capitals in the playoffs a lot.
Can I stop you for 1 second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Backstrom's out for game 1.
Okay, so Backstrom, you heard it here, and we're like 10 minutes from the start of the game being on TV. So Backstrom is out for game 1. That's going to hurt the Capitals. Here's the other, that's another thing. Washington's injuries are going to, they could end up hurting them. Tampa needs to win all their games at home, and I think they can do it. But Tampa needs to win all their games at home. I think Tampa will be better off with rest. The amount of rest they've had I think, is going to benefit them.
Well, there's always the argument of like being in form and going and then having rest. There's always that argument, like being in form and then having rest. You're out of form, kind of like you're just sitting around and
True.
stuff like that. So
I
it could go both ways.
Yeah, and that's a fair argument. I just don't see John Cooper being the type of coach to let that happen.
Yeah.
I think the same thing would have been said of Joe Quenneville and the Chicago Blackhawks in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that. If Barry Trotz and the Washington Capitals were there, I probably would be making that argument. Because I don't trust him as a coach. As much as John Cooper. I don't know. And the leadership of Steven Stamkos. This team has been to the finals against the Chicago Blackhawks. Washington has not made it past the second round until like now in forever. And Washington pretty much was celebrating like they had just won the Stanley Cup after beating Pittsburgh.
So you think they might be on a high and like might slip up?
Yeah, honestly, they kind of remind me a little bit of Montreal, when Montreal got all the way to the conference final and they ended up playing the New York Rangers in 2014, and PK Subban and like the whole team was so ecstatic. They were like jumping up and down like they had just won the Stanley Cup, and they're just going to the conference final. And I remember the interview that PK Subban had with Pierre, and he had like he kissed him or whatever. It was just like, it was really weird and strange. And I remember they were like, yeah, we're going to beat the New York Rangers. We're so excited, blah, blah. And then the New York Rangers came in and just stopped them. Like, it just wasn't even close. And, well, I shouldn't say it wasn't close. It was the Rangers pretty much beat them. So, and then they went to the finals, and then New York lost to LA in the final. So they kind of remind me a little bit of that. So, yeah, emotions have to be in check here, and I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think Tampa takes this series. Yeah. I say 6 games, but I think Tampa takes it.
I didn't say games, but I think 5.
5? That's a ballsy pick. I generally, I mean, fair 5. It's definitely possible. The only reason I lean towards 6 is because usually I think it's a safe bet to go 6. 7's pushing it. 5 is kind of pushing it too. So I think
it's safe for saying 6, but I really like Tampa Bay, and I think they're the better team, and I don't trust Ovi, and with the injuries and stuff, I just don't trust the Capitals.
Fair. And I'm the same way. Ovi's a good player, and it's just Tampa is going to be better defensively. They're going to shut down all the players that Washington has. It's just and Washington was inconsistent against an injured and not as deep Pittsburgh team.
And they didn't play, and on top of that, they didn't play well against Columbus. Columbus could have taken that series.
Yeah. They played well enough to win the series. That's what ended up happening. They really have not faced a whole lot of challenge. Pittsburgh fans, as much as you love your team, they really didn't challenge Washington this series, the last series. Yeah. I think Tampa is going to be the first challenge Washington faces, and it's not going to be good for Washington.
Yeah.
So Tampa, we both have Tampa going to the finals still. Okay. Let's talk about Winnipeg and Vegas.
Okay, I like this series. This is like a good series for me. I thought if I had to pick a dream series, I think this would be it, because it's an expansion team, and then you have the Jets, who have Patrick Laine, Blake Wheeler, Paul Stastny, Connor Hellebuyck. I think it's just going to be a good, exciting series. I still like the Jets because I still think offensively they offer more. They go 2-3 lines deep, and I think Vegas has finally. I think they're gonna run out of luck.
Fair. Yeah, I gotta give. So here's the pros. Offensively, Winnipeg takes it hands down. Offensively, and that's really anyone who doesn't say that is stupid. Um, that being said, I think that Vegas is better defensively, and I think Vegas is better in transition. I think Winnipeg's better in a setup offense. I think Vegas is better, or I'm sorry, Winnipeg is better in a setup offense. Vegas is better transitioning the puck from defense to offense, scoring goals off of the break or off of, you know, just any type of breakaway. That's kind of how I see Vegas. I will say both teams I don't think really have had a challenge until now. I think these two teams are pretty evenly matched. And I think that's what makes this quite honestly a tough one to pick. I think that this matchup is going to be a matchup of goalies. Whoever's the better goalie throughout the series.
I think, not to cut you off, but I think it's going to be high scoring though.
Fair.
I think it's going to be high scoring. I don't think you're going to see a Vegas Knights versus Kings series where it's 1-0, 2-0, 1-0. You know,
I could see that. I mean, Vegas had 4 goals against San Jose, and then they had San Jose had a 4-goal game against them. That's possible. I definitely see that. So here's kind of where I'm at. I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards Vegas. I'm gonna give them some credit here because they've proven me wrong so far. Winnipeg has too, but I think Vegas has proven me wrong enough for me to kind of push me over the edge a little bit with them. Not a whole lot.
Home ice?
Huh?
Who has home ice? Is it Vegas?
No, Winnipeg does have home ice, so that is going to be that's going to be an advantage to Winnipeg. I will say it depends on how William Karlsson plays, if he can play consistently, because I'm not really sure he's played consistently. He's played well, but he hasn't played consistently. And James Neal needs to start scoring some goals. Like, he needs to be a threat. And I think it's possible because Vegas had a ton of depth scoring all the way through. They have had third line scoring, they've had fourth line scoring, they've had first line scoring. Like, you could pick one player out of each line pretty much, and they've scored a goal so far.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Fleury has played very well up until this point.
He's played off his head.
Yeah. So so it'll be interesting to see. I lean more towards Vegas, so I think I have to go with Vegas in this one. I think, though, this series will be either a 6-game series or a 7-game series.
I think it's going to be 7 games, but I think Winnipeg wins.
Fair. And I'm going to go with 6. I'm going to go with Vegas. I think Vegas can steal 1 at home in Winnipeg, because they did it in LA, they did it in San Jose. Those are not easy arenas to score in. Winnipeg, I think, is definitely one of the loudest places to be, but I still think they can do it. And I think Vegas is pretty loud too. So I gotta give credit. I think I gotta give Vegas one. I think what's gonna happen is Winnipeg's gonna win 1 at home. They're gonna lose 1 at home, and then they're gonna win 1 on the road, and then they're gonna lose 1 on the road, and then after that, then it's the alternation back and forth. That's where who's gonna win the series is gonna happen there.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not discrediting what Vegas has done. They've done really well. It's just, I just think Winnipeg's the better team. I think they've played better throughout the playoffs.
Fair. And quite honestly, I mean, they definitely, I think, had a tougher matchup going into Nashville. I mean, here's the thing that I think also kind of pushes me over the edge with Vegas, is that Vegas single-handedly pretty much beat both LA and San Jose in a pretty I mean, it was what 6 games in for San Jose for Vegas San Jose, but
Yes.
still, I mean, Winnipeg still struggled with Nashville. Like they beat them, and it wasn't like a super challenge or anything like that, but they still struggled here and there with Nashville for some odd reason. There were a couple games where they just Winnipeg didn't show up. And now of course you could say the same thing about Vegas, but the difference is Vegas only had like one game where they really didn't show up. I think the rest of them Vegas pretty much showed up. And
yeah, I just think they run out of luck. I think it's been a good story, but I think Winnipeg pulls it out.
okay, fair. All right, so you have Winnipeg and Tampa. So who do you have winning? You still have
Still have Tampa Bay.
Okay. So, let's see.
Because Tampa Bay is just a better overall team, and they're better defensively. And I think Vasilevsky, as much as I love Connor Hellebuyck, and I think he's a great goaltender, I think Vasilevsky's better.
Fair. So yeah, I pulled up Ryan's bracket for you guys to see here. He does have Winnipeg, Tampa, and he did have Tampa going all the way through and winning the cup. So just as a heads up for you guys. For me, I think I have Vegas, Tampa. I think I'm gonna go with the same thing between Vegas and Tampa. I gotta go with Tampa. I think Vegas is a good team. Here's the difference. They're both solid. Tampa's better defensively and they're better offensively.
Question. Do you think Vegas is like the Florida Panthers in their third season where they made the Stanley Cup? Or do you see any comparison there, or do you not?
I wish I had the ability to know how those Florida Panthers played. I unfortunately have no context for that.
Yeah.
I will say Gerard Gallant, former Florida Panther head coach. I've watched how he runs his system because I kind of like watching the Florida Panthers and I like watching Tampa Bay play. And I have for years. But he runs his system very similarly to how he ran his system, actually pretty much exactly how he ran his system in Florida. The only difference is he has more threats. He has William Karlsson, James Neal. I mean, I could go down the list. He has more threats. Honestly, with Vegas, the other thing is he has a better goalie.
Yeah.
So between the two, so this is the interesting thing. Gerard Gallant obviously knows how John Cooper plays. So how he plays his team, and so it's going to be one of those series where I think if Vegas and Tampa get to the finals, that could be a good series, a good finals, because they both know how each other play. And I could see that going to a 7-game series potentially. I'm not saying that's what it will go to. I'm just saying potentially it could go to a 7-game series. I'm sure I would be able to talk about that the closer we got once it got to final matchups. But yeah, that being said, so we both have Tampa winning the final. I know I don't have pull up mine here. I know I don't have Tampa winning it here, but Ryan does know I did make a second bracket that had Tampa winning the final over Anaheim. With all the same matchups. But yeah, it's my next pick was going to be Tampa. If Anaheim didn't win the cup, I will say I was a little biased, but I tried to keep my bias as under check as possible. But anyway, so that being said, who do you think wins game 1 of Tampa, Washington?
I think Tampa Bay wins it.
Okay. Fair.
Not just because of the Backstrom injury. It's just I think the Tampa Bay with rest, and as you said, like John Cooper's done well with rest and everything. So I think it's them that wins the first game, and I think Stamkos just leads them to the Stanley Cup Finals after Game 1.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I will say I tweeted this out. Or actually, I posted it on my Facebook page. But when Steven Stamkos came back from his injury, his like season-long injury that was like it was like 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago, I think. I did say on my Facebook page I really want to see Steven Stamkos lift a cup because I think he is one of the players in the league who I think deserves to lift a cup. And I don't say that about every player. So it would be cool to see him lift a cup, and so because of that, well, I will say I'm kind of like a Tampa fan a little bit. I don't like rep their gear or anything like that, but you know, I have a soft spot for him in my heart when I watch Tampa. You know, the team that the Rangers should be. And that's kind of how I look at them.
Well, you have a bad owner, so let's.
True, and Tampa has a great owner. And so well, we don't have a coach now, but they have a coach. That's outstanding. Probably third best in the league, I would say. I still stick to my Sullivan statement where I think he's the best coach in the league right now.
Yeah.
With that Pittsburgh team that he had,
Bednar's getting up there though. Like, he's not a great coach yet, but Bednar's up there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there are definitely coaches who can prove themselves to be better. And I think there's a possibility for a lot of coaches to be able to do that. I think a lot of coaches who are from, early 2000s, maybe 90s-ish, their styles are dying off.
Mm-hmm.
The style of play big hockey, hit hard, all this stuff, that's all dying off. You watch Chicago, LA, Pittsburgh, it's all speed now. It's now
Avalanche is all speed.
And I mean, that's why, you want to talk about Ken Hitchcock leaving retiring from the Dallas Stars. By the way, I want to mention, I was talking about this today, Dallas is going to be a threat to be reckoned with their new head coach.
The Western Division, that Central Division is going to be tough, I think.
Oh, yeah. The Central Division will be tough. And it'll be, I think if Chicago can get back into where they were like 2 seasons ago, I don't think they're going to win a cup anytime soon. They could prove me wrong, but if they can get back to being a threat, which I think they will, just to get in the playoffs.
I don't know. I just don't trust their goalie.
I mean, Crawford is a decent goaltender. Keep in mind he was injury prone. He was out for the whole season, so I will give him that. Now the question remains: will he turn into Carey Price? It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not really too sure. We'll see how he plays next season. Obviously, I always say this: I'd never consider Carey Price a top 10 goalie. I've never considered him that.
Should we go back to Game 1? What you asked me? What are your thoughts? Who do you think wins? Or do you want to keep talking about goalies?
Yeah, we can. What do you want to talk about?
No, I meant do you want to talk about Game 1 tonight? That's
yeah. All right. So let's talk. Let's do Game 1 of Vegas and Winnipeg, and then we'll end it.
I think Vegas will surprise us. I think they'll win. They'll steal Game 1.
Okay.
But I think Winnipeg will put the hammer down and say, "Hey, this doesn't fly."
Fair. I think Vegas wins as well. But I think it's a close game. I think a lot of the first Game 1s have been pretty high scoring for one team. Every series, I think. And I don't think the Western Conference or the Eastern Conference are going to be. I don't think they're going to be that. I think they're going to be close games all the way through. So, but yeah. Okay, so you have Tampa, Washington, out of Tampa, Washington, Tampa winning game 1, and Winnipeg, Vegas winning game 1. You have Vegas. I am the same way. I think Vegas takes game 1 as well. So,
are they all on NBCSN or is it going to be NBC2?
Yeah, they'll be on. I think. Well, they might be on general NBC. My guess is they'll probably be on NBCSN. Once it gets to the final, it'll be on NBC for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, they'll be on NBCSN all the way. I think pretty much for the Western Conference and Eastern Conference because there's only two teams, or I'm sorry, 2 matchups. So, that being said, I'm gonna end this because
game 1's about to start.
Yeah, game 1's about to start. There's not a whole lot to talk about, and yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is the Captains at Center Ice podcast talking about the Western Conference and Eastern Conference final. As I have stated earlier, I will re-upload that podcast that for the second round. I don't know why that was gone.
And that has our edited brackets as well. So
yeah, so we're gonna talk about that. That has all that. So if you want to see our topics, we did do that before round 2 started. So I will let you know that. It just got uploaded late, so I apologize for that. That being said, we will do another one of these for the final, the Stanley Cup final.
And we will probably have more people on too.
Yeah, that is my goal. I plan to have at least one more person. That's my goal. Another one of my friends from Cardinal, or our friends from Cardinal Sports Live. His name is Will. I think he will be willing to join. If I can get Alicia in, that'd be cool too.
She might still be better from the Washington series. So,
our friend Alicia is a Pens fan. So, that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like if you like the video. Comment down below what you think, your thought process, and yeah. That being said, that was this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys later. We'll see you guys for the Stanley Cup final. Bye.